On the broadcast tonight, out of work. New numbers came out today on the economy and unemployment tonight. Just how bad is it? Power struggle. Governor Blagojevich impeached by the Illinois House. Now he stands trial, but he says he's not going anywhere. America's agenda with all the other problems crowding in. Where does education come in? Like Obama's promise to make our schools world class. And making a difference, a man who never had much, but he's giving all he's got to those who need it. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. We've said once or twice before here we'd much rather come on the air and report good economic news, but there was nothing good in the numbers that came out today. In December, over 500,000 U.S. jobs just went away. The unemployment rate went to 7.2%. That's a 16-year high in this country. Job losses last year, 2.6 million people. Here's another way to put that last stat. If all the people who lost their jobs last year got together and formed a city, it would be just about the size of Chicago, the third largest city in the country. And sadly, a lot of experts believe, as you may know, it's early on in this downturn. And so we begin again here tonight with CNBC's Scott Cohn.
The steady flow of job losses is now a flood.
I'm sorry, we are experiencing high call volumes.
Overwhelming some state unemployment offices where phone systems and websites crashed.
It's been very hectic. It's been very busy.
But more important, threatening to overwhelm the economy.
No one is going to escape harm in this Great Recession.
Again, last month, job losses hit almost every industry. 149,000 manufacturing jobs, 113,000 in business services. Even retailers, in what's supposed to be their busiest time of the year, cut 67,000 jobs. And today, Boeing announced it's laying off 4,500 workers who build commercial planes. But as grim as the numbers are, they don't include people like Debbie Lawrence.
I'm not unemployable. I know that I'm not unemployable.
She used to work in real estate in Alabama. Her husband was a home builder. They were making six figures. Then came the housing crisis, and by the end of 2007, both were out of work.
One day there was money, and the next day there was no money.
So she started an internet marketing business at home, bringing in a couple $100s a week. But as far as the government is concerned, she's not unemployed. She's marginally attached to the labor force, not actively looking for work.
Believe me, if there was a job that would hire me, I would go to work tomorrow.
There are now 1.9 million Americans like Debbie, up 30% from a year ago. Another 8 million have part-time jobs but want to be working full-time. That's up 43% from a year ago. The unemployment numbers just begin to tell the story. A story of economic stress that some of the great financial minds did not see coming. Today, Robert Rubin, the former Clinton Treasury Secretary, stepped down from his post as a senior advisor to embattled Citigroup. In his resignation letter, he expresses great regret for missing it and says a great deal of work is needed to figure out what went wrong. Brian?
All right, Scott, thanks. Scott Cohn starting us off from our New York studios tonight. Now we turn to the politics of the fix. Barack Obama's come to Washington with specific big ideas for how he wants to do it, when he wants it, but what will he get in the end from Congress? Will they go along with all he's asking? That's where Chuck Todd comes in. He's on duty at the White House for us tonight. Chuck, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Well, the president-elect did not let that dismal news on the jobs front go by without making yet another pitch for his economic plan and to ratchet up pressure on Congress to act fast. Before unveiling the final members of his national security team, the president-elect made an urgent plea for quick passage of his economic plan in light of those bad unemployment numbers.
Clearly, the situation is dire. It is deteriorating, and it demands urgent and immediate action.
Mr. Obama took on growing criticism from Capitol Hill, much of which is coming from Democrats, about his stimulus plan.
Look, there are some people who have said that it's not big enough. There are others who say it's too big.
Clearly prepared to engage Congress, Mr. Obama was animated in defending the framework of the proposal.
Just show me. If you can show me that something's going to work, I will welcome it. If it works better than something I've proposed, I'll welcome it.
In his first full week in Washington as the president-elect, Mr. Obama has gotten a reminder of just how sharp elbows can be in Congress, even from members of his own party.
We're there not to just give each other hugs and congratulate each other. We're there to take a look at where are some areas where we think this can be more effective.
The president-elect again publicly avoided saying how much his plan is going to cost. But his aides say the current estimate is $800 billion, and he signaled he was willing to let that number climb even higher.
You know, our expectation is that we will continue to hone and refine our package over the next several weeks.
The incoming White House must also tackle an inherited problem, managing the $700 billion financial bailout Congress hastily passed last year. This Democratic Congress is not yet ready to hand the Obama administration the remaining $350 billion without a lot more checks and balances.
In this case, we are Reaganites. We intend to trust but verify. And we're going to verify in advance. We're going to put some requirements in there.
And Brian, you know the cliche that sometimes the presidency is a permanent campaign. Well, the Obama transition is doing just that. They have done polling to try to figure out how best to sell this stimulus plan to the public. And some special interest groups have already raised millions to prepare a paid advertising campaign to pressure Congress to get this thing passed.
And so it begins. Chuck Todd on the White House lawn on a Friday night. Chuck, thanks. And now we move to that presidential inauguration, just 11 days away now. And what Washington journalists call the elephant in the room in the nation's capital, Barack Obama's security. Our Justice correspondent Pete Williams has just interviewed the Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff about all the measures being taken to protect the new president. Pete, good evening.
Brian, Secretary Chertoff just told me that as of tonight, there are no known credible threats to disrupt the inaugural ceremonies. He says what worries officials most is the prospect of someone acting alone, and he acknowledged a concern of those in charge of security.
Well, the hardest thing to detect is the individual who's disturbed or has an axe to grind, or maybe he's a racist, who wants to carry out an individual act of violence, whether it's a homemade bomb or a gun. You're going to have millions of people potentially in and around the area. It's impossible to guarantee that no one in the city of Washington is going to have bad intent or have a weapon of some kind.
That huge expected crowd will also bring a big turnout of police, more than double the usual number. But Chertoff and the Secret Service say as for the swearing in and the inaugural parade, security will be about at the maximum, the level it was 4 years ago at the first post-9/11 inaugural. And one other note, Secretary Chertoff told me he will actually stay on duty well beyond the swearing in of the new president until the next morning to assure continuity of leadership in case something here goes wrong, Brian.
All right. Pete Williams in our Washington Bureau with that story tonight. Pete, thanks. The governor of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich, was impeached today, the formal process that will bring him to trial and might result in formal removal from office. NBC's Lee Cowan's with us from the state capitol in Springfield, where the governor says he's not going anywhere. Lee, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. Yeah, and in true Blagojevich fashion, just as the House was voting to impeach him for trying to sell off Barack Obama's vacant Senate seat, allegedly, as well as a host of other things, he decided to go jogging, looking as happy as ever.
At the moment of perhaps his biggest political disgrace so far, Blagojevich decided to get fit. But at a rambling press conference just a few hours later, he accused the Illinois House of wasting his time and the state's.
While they're busy trying to throw me out of office, they may actually want to stop families from being thrown out of their homes.
Flanked by people he says he tried to help and the House ignored, he predicted his virtues would solidify a victory.
And I'm confident that at the end of the day, I will be properly exonerated.
But it may be a lonely journey.
Governor Blagojevich is hereby impeached.
There was only one vote in favor of the governor today. The rest were unanimous in their distaste.
You ought to be disgusted. You ought to be mad as hell.
Members of the panel who recommended today's impeachment didn't mince words either.
Well, I think it's a good, glad, happy day for Illinois because it points out that nobody is above the law.
some protesters, even the lieutenant governor, hoped that today's impeachment would force the governor to give in.
And I wish he had resigned today.
But Blagojevich ended the day quoting the British poet Tennyson instead.
That which we are, we are.
What the Illinois House says he is a man unfit for office.
Now, Brian, of course, one of his legacies would, of course, be Roland Burris, the man that he appointed to fill Barack Obama's vacant Senate seat. Today, the Illinois Supreme Court said that that appointment was, in fact, legal under state law. And then late tonight, the Illinois Secretary of State sent in his own signed certificate. So, Brian, that may be enough to convince Senate leaders to seat Roland Burris as its newest member.
Lee Cowan with what continues to be among the more interesting stories of the new year. Lee, thanks for that. Overseas tonight, no let up in the war in Gaza as both Israel and Hamas rejected a UN resolution calling for that ceasefire. It's been 2 weeks now since Israel launched its offensive against Palestinian militants embedded in Gaza, and the combined death toll in this war is now almost 800 people. What do you do if Somali pirates have seized your valuable cargo ship and you really want it back? One option, pay the ransom. That's what happened today by parachute. That's $3 million being dropped onto the deck from a chopper to buy the release of a Saudi-owned tanker. Not just any tanker, it's the size of an aircraft carrier. It carries a third of Saudi Arabia's daily oil output. The pirates had first asked for $25 million. Officials have yet to confirm that the tanker has in fact been released for all that money. When our broadcast continues here this Friday night, our series leading up to the inauguration, exactly what happens to education in this country with all the other problems that have come up that the president-elect is now facing. And later, making a difference, an ingenious way to make sure something we take for granted is on tap for the folks who really need it.
If your auto policy could talk, what would it tell you?
I'm the celebrity auto policy. The policy that you got because of my famous name. I know I look good. Off the record, I offer the same coverage. I advertise more. I cost more, too. But you love me. You really love me.
Paying too much for a famous name auto policy? Switch to 21st Century Insurance. We cross-check 21 unique personal factors so you can save hundreds on coverage that's just right for you. 21st Century Insurance. Just right, just for you.
Sensitive skin runs in the family.
Oh, yeah.
New fragrance-free Gold Bond Ultimate Soothing Lotion. Moisturizers, vitamins, and chamomile soothe and calm irritation.
Irritated skin? History.
Can your lotion do that? New Gold Bond Ultimate Soothing.
This stuff really works.
Lindsey Vonn, she stays tough. Earlier, she had an all-over achy cold. What's her advantage? It's Speedy Alka-Seltzer.
New and improved Alka-Seltzer Plus. Rush's relief for all-over achy colds. The official cold medicine of the U.S. ski team. Alka-Seltzer Plus.
Drinking V8 vegetable juice every day may lower your risk of ever acting your age.
Of course you have a chef. He was cooking pasta
There's
stirring.
no chef.
That's him right there.
That's Murray from Systems.
Well, why did you lie to me about having a chef?
Made fresh from your desk. Cook it, strain it, mix it, love it. New Healthy Choice Fresh Mixers. Find it in the soup or pasta aisle.
Everything that goes into each of the 13 different varieties of Mrs. Dash, all those natural herbs and spices, is just as important as what doesn't. No salt, no MSG. Everything that goes into Mrs. Dash is there to make sure that what you get out is nothing short of delicious. Mrs. Dash, salt-free, flavorful. And try the 10-minute marinades from Mrs. Dash.
Barack Obama promised during the campaign that improving this nation's schools would be a top priority. That was right before the nation was plunged into an economic crisis that they are still tallying up. So what happens to education now? As our own Rahima Ellis reports, it is nonetheless a big part of America's agenda.
For nearly 2 years, Barack Obama has been talking to America about his vision for fixing the nation's schools.
I want to put $18 billion in additional money into early childhood education, into paying our teachers more money.
You know your math and you know your decimals.
It's part of Obama's education agenda that would provide students a college tax credit.
If you are willing to put in 100 hours a year in community service, we will provide you a $4,000 tuition credit
every student, every year to help pay for your college education.
The Obama plan would also double funding for federal charter school programs and reform No Child Left Behind.
Don't have the entire curriculum shaped around a standardized test.
And his plan would also help states move toward universal pre-K, emphasizing early care and education for children so they're ready to enter kindergarten. President-elect Obama's stimulus package includes an extensive school modernization program, building, repairing, and making schools internet ready, plus direct grants to states for their education budgets. Some teachers say it's critical.
And the federal government needs to step in with a stimulus program so that states can maintain their progress in education.
But some education policy experts are skeptical.
The stimulus package, which is going to get speedy action, will probably include some education elements, but I doubt that those are going to be anything we could reasonably call reforms.
Still, others are encouraged, saying Obama's agenda is a long-term investment toward helping the nation's schools make the grade.
So the third term of our sequence.
Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
President-elect Obama has made it very clear he loves his mother-in-law, and that's a good thing because his mother-in-law is about to move in. The Obamas made it official today. Marion Robinson, Michelle's mother, will be residing in the White House. By all accounts, she is playing a crucial role in the family under a lot of pressure. Mrs. Robinson will help with the move, with the transition, and will help look after daughters Sasha and Malia, much as she often did during the campaign. A quick look at Wall Street at the end of another trading week. Stocks finishing lower across the board after that brutal jobs report we talked about. And up next, if you build it, will they buy it? Tonight, the really cool stuff at that big consumer electronics show in Vegas. And of course, the big question, can anybody afford it?
If you've had a heart attack caused by a completely blocked artery, another heart attack could be lurking, waiting to strike. A heart attack caused by a clot, one that could be fatal. But Plavix helps save lives. Plavix, taken with other heart medicines, goes beyond what other heart medicines do alone to provide greater protection against heart attack or stroke and even death by helping to keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots. Ask your doctor about Plavix, protection that helps save lives.
If you have a stomach ulcer or other condition that causes bleeding, you should not use Plavix. When taking Plavix alone or with some other medicines, including aspirin, the risk of bleeding may increase, so tell your doctor before planning surgery. And always talk to your doctor before taking aspirin or other medicines with Plavix, especially if you've had a stroke. If you develop fever or unexplained weakness or confusion, tell your doctor promptly, as these may be signs of a rare but potentially life-threatening condition called TTP, which has been reported rarely, sometimes in less than 2 weeks after starting therapy. Other rare but serious side effects may occur.
If you take Plavix with other heart medicines, continuing to do so will help increase your protection against a future heart attack or stroke beyond your other heart medicines alone. You may be feeling better, but your risk never goes away. Help stay protected. Stay with Plavix.
I have high blood pressure, so when I get a cold, I take powerful cold medicine with the heart. Well, now there's new Quercetin HBP Nighttime for nighttime cold relief with the heart. From the only cold brand that won't raise your blood pressure, Quercetin HBP.
John! How would you like to win $5,000 from Publishers Clearinghouse every single week for the rest of your life? Yes. Enter at PCH.com or by mail, and you could win for life.
To help avoid dental problems, my dentist gives me ACT Restoring Mouthwash.
ACT restores minerals to soft spots and strengthens enamel up to 2 times harder.
My breath is great, and so are my checkups.
ACT Restoring Mouthwash, the one dentists believe in.
The new CVS.com from CVS Pharmacy is the easiest and most convenient way to manage your prescriptions. Just log on to CVS.com. You can view your prescription history, order refills, and then choose a pickup location. You can also check the status of your prescriptions, and we can remind you when you need your next refill. The new CVS.com from CVS Pharmacy is just another way we're helping you care for yourself and your family. CVS Pharmacy, for all the ways you care.
Sunday, our first African-American president. How will it impact the black community? A special discussion with Bill Cosby and D.C. Mayor Adrian Fenty, only on Meet the Press.
We're back with NBC News In Depth tonight. If you're like a lot of people, it's just more stuff you don't know how to use, like the old VCR that has flashed 12 o'clock since the first time you plugged it in. But if you're really into electronics and technology, this is the best time of year. The Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is underway. Question is, will the hottest stuff on the market in an economy that's stone cold ever get purchased? Lester Holt is there.
And now, it is where the electronics industry comes to tout the next best thing. This year, it's TVs that allow you to watch rental movies without buying a special box.
We've got a little point here.
And wireless electricity that could make power cords a thing of the past.
For images.
But the biggest buzz this year is not about the future of technology, but the future of the industry.
I think the mood's a little bit down. There are definitely fewer people. There's a lot of uncertainty in the industry. You can record it.
Organizers braced for an 8% drop in attendance at this year's CES as companies tighten their budgets.
This is quiet. It's scary quiet.
The electronics industry is coming off a rough 2008 that saw a 26% year-to-year drop in sales.
While big screen TVs and big ticket items have taken a hit, cheaper favorites like video games continue to sell well. Insiders say the next big thing may in fact be very small and affordable.
Windows 7.
Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer predicts its Windows mobile operating system will get a lift this year as more Americans turn to do-everything smartphones.
In the U.S., within 5 or 6 years, this will be 85–90% of the market.
The smartphone.
Yeah.
Lightweight, portable, internet on the go.
And the newest thing in computers, netbooks. Tiny stripped-down portable PCs designed only for web surfing and email and cost just a couple $100. Useful and convenient, but will American consumers see any of this as must-have?
Almost everything here is non-essential to your life, right? And so it's finding ways to really connect with consumers and convince them of needs that maybe they don't even know they have.
And that may require not a technological leap, but a leap of faith by cautious consumers. Lester Holt, NBC News, Las Vegas.
Not all orders from the commanding general are greeted with unmitigated joy in the U.S. military, but this one was. General Ray Odierno, who runs the show for American forces in Iraq, has signed a special waiver allowing beer in a combat zone for the Super Bowl. Now, depending on their unit commander, personnel would be allowed 2 beers over a 24-hour period on game day, which is really more like game night. The game airs in Iraq at 2 a.m. Normally, getting caught drinking in a combat zone could get you court-martialed, again, depending on your unit commander. Odierno played at West Point at 6'5", 245, give or take. He's huge and a huge football fan. He is a New Jersey native who has the good sense to root for the New York Giants. When we come back here tonight, our Friday night Making a Difference report.
Arthritis doesn't know when to quit. It shows up early and stays late. Tylenol Arthritis works with your body to block pain fast, with one layer that dissolves quickly and another that gives you time-released relief all day. So you not only feel better, you feel better knowing Tylenol works as hard as your arthritis.
Yeah, I need you to talk me through it the first time.
You need me to talk you through add water, microwave, strain, and stir?
Whoa, 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 what is that, Japanese?
Made fresh from your desk. Cook it, strain it, mix it, love it. New Healthy Choice Fresh Mixers. Find it in the soup or pasta aisle.
Drink more V8 vegetable juice now. Have more fun when you're 80.
Did you know 1 in 3 men will face prostate issues?
1 in 3, really?
That's why One-A-Day Men's is a complete multivitamin with selenium, which emerging research suggests can help prostate health. One-A-Day Men's.
This fiber, I'd had my fill. Then I found Miralax. Miralax relieves constipation with no bloating, no excess gas, no taste, no grit. You'll see, it's clearly different.
Restore your body's natural rhythm with Miralax.
I have COPD, which makes it hard to breathe. But now that I'm breathing better with Advair,
I can spend a day with my favorite little camper.
For people with COPD, including chronic bronchitis, emphysema, or both, great news. Advair helps significantly improve lung function. While nothing can reverse COPD, Advair is different from other medications because it's the only product with an anti-inflammatory and a long-acting bronchodilator working together to help you breathe better. Advair won't replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than twice a day. People with COPD taking Advair may have a higher chance of pneumonia. Advair may increase your risk of osteoporosis and some eye problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking Advair.
I love coming here, Grandma.
Me too. Ask your doctor how Advair helps improve lung function for better breathing.
Find out how to get your first full prescription free at advaircopd.com.
Next on your one source for local news at 7.
Police find cash in a sports car riddled with bullets. We're live with some exclusive details.
Plus, how South Florida plans to honor a civil rights icon on his holiday weekend.
And why our troops in Iraq are really looking forward to the Super Bowl.
Those stories and more next at 7.
Making a difference. Brought to you by GlaxoSmithKline. Today's medicines, tomorrow's miracles.
As we said at the very top of the broadcast tonight, our closing story tonight is about a guy who gives a lot. The only hitch is he doesn't have a lot, but that is the lesson in tonight's Making a Difference report. Here's NBC's Chris Jansing.
On the edge of the Amazon forest in Bolivia, American Leon McLaughlin is greeted like visiting royalty. Hugs from the mayor, proposals from the locals.
Can I get a kiss too?
Laughter and smiles in a place usually lacking in both.
I never imagined that it would be this bad, and that's why I'm really so serious about saving these children's lives.
La Nina is a village named after the storm that left thousands of already poor Bolivians with almost nothing. Elena and her children live in a home made of scraps of wood and plastic tarp with dirt floors and no electricity or running water.
We need the water. Without water, you can't do anything.
About a third of Bolivians don't have access to clean drinking water. It's summer now, and here in Bene, temperatures top 100 degrees a day. So if your choice is to drink water that looks like this or none at all, people will often choose this water and get sick or even die as a result.
Hey. Into that heartbreak, Leon McLaughlin introduced hope. He arranged for La Nina to get a water purification system from thousands of miles away. McLaughlin shines shoes at his stand in Seattle, $3.50 for shoes, $6 for boots. Using the profits, he started a one-man company with a global agenda to save children's lives by providing clean water.
The ultimate goal is to change those 2 million children dying a year, to have that number down to 0. That's the ultimate goal. That's my Disney fantasy.
To turn fantasy to reality, McLaughlin teamed with international aid organization World Vision. His project will initially bring 20 water systems to Bolivia. It's already brought happiness to 10-year-old Yorelda Gutierrez.
Before, we used to have illness, not anymore. Now we can eat, we can cook, we can take baths.
It brings joy to my heart to be able to do something like this as a person, and basically it put a commitment on me for life.
For the poorest of the poor in Bolivia, something and someone to celebrate. Chris Jansing, NBC News, Beni, Bolivia.
And that is our broadcast for this Friday night and for this week. Thank you for being with us for all of it. I'm Brian Williams, and barring a predicted snowstorm here in the New York area, Lester Holt should be here with you tomorrow night. In the meantime, have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. Good night.